These people should not be in Britain. Hey guys, Matt Goodwin here at GB News. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Now, shocking news for you today. The recent revelations regarding foreign criminals committing thousands of offences here in Britain after avoiding deportation have ignited significant concern and debate among the public and policymakers alike. This information, which has been meticulously extracted from the Ministry of Justice, which I've been calling for a long time, over at my newsletter, sheds light on a pressing issue that warrants urgent attention and action. This stuff really matters, what I'm about to tell you. Let's get into the shocking statistics. The data presents a very troubling picture of the impact of foreign criminals here on British communities and our society. Brace yourself. More than 10,000 criminal offences were committed by foreign criminals who avoided deportation in just 1 year. Approximately 1 in 4 foreign criminals reoffended after being released from prison and remaining on Britain's streets. Don't forget, we've got more than 11,000 foreign nationals in our prisons taking up spaces that would otherwise go, of course, to those criminals who you just saw being released back onto Britain's streets. But here's the real stat that knocks me for six. Nearly 40,000 criminal offences were attributed to foreigners in Britain over the last 4 years. Nearly 40,000. Think of the cost. The policing, the resources, the paperwork, all of that. Unbelievable figures. These alarming figures represent a 25% increase from the previous year, with 3,235 foreign offenders released from jail, accounting for, on average, 3 crimes each. Remarkable reoffending rates, very depressing. The implications of these statistics are profound. They raise questions about the effectiveness of current immigration policies and the safety of British citizens. Behind every statistic lies a tragic story of lives lost and communities shattered. These are not just numbers. They reflect real individuals whose lives have been irrevocably altered by the failures of the system. Just look, for example, at Ernesto Elliott, a Jamaican criminal, was involved in a knife fight that resulted in the murder of a 35-year-old man after he had avoided deportation. This guy should not have been in Britain. Or what about Lloyd Byfield, another Jamaican drug dealer, evaded deportation and subsequently killed a young woman in her own home, highlighting the grave consequences of allowing dangerous individuals to remain in the country. These people should not be in Britain. Even more concerning are cases where deported criminals managed to re-enter the UK and commit further offences, like the Albanian gangster who was apprehended with loaded guns, £70,000 worth of drugs, after sneaking back into Britain after his deportation in 2015. This is an outrage. The British people deserve so much more than this. These incidents underscore not only the failures in deportation processes, but also the wider implications for public safety. We need to keep British people safe. The campaign for transparency, thankfully, is now underway. This troubling information has come to light only thanks to the persistent campaigning of people like me over at my newsletter, but also a handful of renegade MPs like Reform's Rupert Lowe, who's been really active in Parliament, pressing government departments to release this information. The campaign aims to compel the government, civil servants, the expert class, the people who tell us time and time again, trust the experts. Well, why don't you start treating British taxpayers with the respect and the decency they deserve by providing them with honest and comprehensive information regarding the impact of mass immigration on their country, on their communities, on their society. This push for transparency is absolutely crucial as it seeks to hold authorities accountable for their actions or lack thereof regarding immigration enforcement. We need this information. You cannot accuse the British people of misinformation while hiding information from them. The public deserves to know how many offenders exactly are evading deportation, what measures are being taken to address this issue, and how we can keep British people safe. To address this issue more effectively, there's an increasing demand, I think, for number one, regular reports to Parliament. I want a regular report every year that details the nationality, the visa status, the asylum status of every offender convicted in England and Wales. I want more transparency on crime rates, as well as things like welfare claims, tax contributions, usage of the National Health Service by nationality, visa type and immigration status. Let's be clear, this isn't about demonising people who come to Britain. This isn't about demonising people who play by the rules, who contribute to the collective pot, who respect our way of life. This is about actually coming up with a transparency which would facilitate much better informed policy decisions and promote a much more reasonable and mature public debate about immigration. We can't have that debate without information. It would also help dispel misinformation surrounding crime rates associated with migration, and it would foster a more constructive dialogue. Let's get all of this data out into the open. That's what I say. Let's have a serious discussion in this country about what's going on, who's in the country, what they're doing, whether they're playing by the rules. The British people need to see this. While current law mandates that the Home Secretary must deport foreign criminals who are jailed for more than 1 year, with discretionary powers for shorter sentences, the implementation appears woefully inadequate. In 2023, shockingly, just under 4,000 foreign offenders were removed from the UK. Yes, it's the highest number in 4 years, but it's still below pre-pandemic levels. Not enough is being done. As of September 2023, there were approximately 11,800 individuals liable for deportation who had been released into the community after completing their sentences, a figure that has roughly doubled over the last 5 years. Now, this trend raises serious concerns about public safety and the effectiveness of current migration enforcement strategies. If you look at the data, you'll see that several factors are contributing to these shortcomings. Legal challenges, which are often hindering deportation efforts. Let's be honest, we have an activist legal class which is fully invested in keeping criminals here in Britain. Some countries are also reluctant to accept their nationals back. While we should stop that by leaning on those countries by clamping down on things like overseas aid, dare I say it, visa programs, exchange programs, and saying if you don't play ball with us, we won't play ball with you. Limited resources are being allocated to immigration enforcement. We need more resources devoted to this. Complexities arising in identifying and locating individuals who are subject to deportation. All of these challenges highlight a systemic issue within the immigration framework that needs addressing. This system is not working, it's broken. So what's the way forward? Well, to tackle these challenges effectively, we need to follow several steps, and we need to do this urgently. Number one, we need stricter enforcement of deportation orders for foreign national criminals. This includes allocating additional resources to immigration enforcement agencies. Why don't we take some money that we're giving to countries overseas, and why don't we actually give it to law enforcement agencies here in Britain? Number two, there should be much better data collection, improved data collection, and sharing that data between law enforcement agencies and immigration authorities to ensure that we have a more coordinated approach and make it available to the public. Number three, we need enhanced border controls. They must be implemented to prevent previously deported criminals from re-entering the UK, like the guy from Albania, deported out of the UK, smuggled his way back in, and then used the European Convention on Human Rights to stay in the country. It's absolutely outrageous. Fourth, we need a more robust vetting process for visa applications, which needs to be established urgently, particularly from countries that have higher crime rates. We need to clamp down on this stuff now. Diplomatic efforts, fifthly, must be intensified to secure better cooperation from countries that are reluctant to accept their nationals back. Afghanistan, Syria, to name just a few, Iraq as well. A review of existing human rights legislation will also be necessary to strike a balance between individual rights and public safety concerns. Look, I don't know about you, but if we are part of conventions and international courts and agreements that are not serving the safety and security of the British people, then we should leave those things. Number seven, increased investment in rehabilitation programs maybe could help reduce reoffending rates among foreign national offenders, but ultimately they shouldn't be in the country to begin with. If you break our laws, you should leave. And eight, implementation of a points-based immigration system that gets away from the disaster that we now have. We should not be living in a country with masses of low-skilled, low-wage migration from culturally incompatible nations outside of Europe. We should be living in a country with high-skill, high-wage, but limited immigration, which includes people who play by the rules and respect our laws. Because what I'm worried about more than anything, folks, is the impact of all this on public trust. By advocating for greater transparency regarding crime statistics related to immigration, we can begin rebuilding that trust and engage in more constructive discussions about immigration policy. We need to be real with people. We need to balance compassion with the security of the British people. Any policy changes must carefully target those who pose genuine threats without unfairly penalising law-abiding immigrants who contribute to the collective pot. And I think this balance can be achieved through clear communication regarding immigration rules and expectations, fair processing of visa applications and asylum claims, support for integration programs that help newcomers adapt to British society, recognition of the positive contribution that some migrants make to our country, so long as migration is limited and controlled. The British public, the British people deserve transparency and accountability regarding how immigration is impacting their society. And by advocating for comprehensive data collection, regular reporting on criminal activity related to immigration, we can finally ensure that policy decisions are grounded in facts rather than assumptions or political rhetoric. It's imperative we get this right, guys. We have to engage in an open discussion about these issues, free from political correctness. That's why we're doing this on GB News, because the legacy media has failed to have this debate, failed to have this discussion. So we need to effectively address the challenges that are posed by foreign criminals while ensuring the safety and well-being of British residents comes first. Now listen, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you agree with the content, drop me a comment. I'll read them all. But it's good to have you with us for now. Matt Goodwin. Speak to you soon.